Ted Bundy, the guy who started the movement of never getting into a stranger's car and pretty much eradicated hitchhiking. He's also probably the most famous serial killer of all time. That's who I'm going to be talking to you about today, Ted Bundy. Ever since I watched a movie about Ted Bundy last year, I was intrigued about if it was all true and why he grew up to be the way he acts. So today I'm going to be telling you about his upbringing and his family, his crimes that he committed and what they think they meant, his capture and what happened to him after his capture. So first off, I'm going to be talking to you about his upbringing and his family. He was born in Vermont to a single mom because he was an illegitimate child, which means he had no father or a real father that was there to care for him. And due to the illegitimacy of this child, he actually grew up resenting his mom for having him because he didn't want to be an illegitimate child. And at first, for a good amount of time when he was born, he thought that his mom was his sister, which is probably a sign that something's wrong with him. Later on, his mother gets married to someone, and it turns out that Ted Bundy and the stepfather don't get along so well. They always are arguing and fighting around the house, and it just doesn't end well, and it can't help his psychological state. Also, before I get into how he is in school and his social life, I want to talk about his family's past history with mental health issues. His grandmother suffered from depression and agoraphobia, which is the fear of being put in a situation that you can't get out of. But I honestly don't think that had much to do with how he acted. But now I'm going to go into school and how he acted. At first, people thought that Ted Bundy had quite a boring, not so eventful childhood. But after a while, people looked into it and they saw how he was acting. In school, he had good grades and all of that, and eventually he'd go on to graduate and go to good colleges and actually graduate college with distinctions and get letters of recommendations from people. But his social life was not the same. He was described as socially awkward. In school, he would do he had a group of friends, but after that, it trailed off. He got caught, or I'm not sure caught, but people knew that he would go into closets in school and masturbate, which is a very alarming thing, especially for someone with psychological problems, probably. And at this point, he didn't have his charm that he's so well known for. Also, it's thought to be that he was beat by his grandfather and hurt mentally by his grandfather, but we're not sure about this. But that would also explain a lot of why he acted how he did when he's older. And as a child, he had a criminal record and he stole from a shop and he got caught being a peeping Tom, which actually is a huge red flag because it's been proven that if you're a peeping Tom, which is someone like spying on strangers, getting change or something like that, which what he did, you are much more likely to commit a sexual crime later on in your life, which we know he did. And later on in his life, he got married. He eventually got his charm. He got married and had a kid, married to Claire Ann Boone and had a kid named Rose Bundy. Next, I'm going to be talking about what he did for his crimes. He killed 30 to 40 people over a decade. He may have started killing at 14, but he never confirmed. His patterns would be a young college-looking girl who usually had brown hair, and he killed his first at University of Washington, which matched his usual victim. He would use his charm. He would abduct them, then he would rape them, and then he would beat them to death, and then he would hide the body. And eventually, he kept doing this until he got caught, and then he jumped out of a window and escaped and started doing it again. Later on, he got pulled over by a highway patrol officer, and the highway patrol officer saw that he had a handcuffs, a ski mask, and a pick, and he thought it was suspicious, so he picked him up without knowing that it was actually Ted Bundy. Brought him into the station, found out that it was Ted Bundy, and immediately he got set for a trial, and there he would be convicted of 36 murders, but those are only the confirmed murders, and there's thought to be a lot more than 36, and as a result, he got the death penalty. But that brings me to my conclusion that his upbringings were very alarming, that we definitely could have seen him acting like this later in life if we looked into how he acted as a child, and we see what probably turned him to killing so many people and why he did that. And now we know he was arrested and he got the death penalty for his actions. And this is why you should never trust a stranger, and you should always be careful around who you are around.